Is China looking to subvert India's G20 presidency? Is it basically trying to convert the G20 into the G18? Now, these questions pop up, all courtesy Beijing's provocative and petty actions. You see, first, it boycotted the G20 meetings hosted by India in Kashmir and Arunachal Pradesh. And then it released a map which showed Indian territories as part of the Chinese mainland. And now the Chinese president is apparently, as per reports, likely to skip the G20 summit altogether. Now, why is that? Why is China doing all of this? What exactly is it fearing? Does it fear that India will use the summit to sideline Beijing and call out its actions? Or does it fear that India could become the voice of the global south after the summit? Whatever China's real intentions might be, one thing is absolutely clear. It is waging a thinly veiled campaign to disrupt the G20 summit. A campaign to deny India the global leadership that it is seeking. And it's time that we call this campaign out. We'll start off with this report. It's a Reuters exclusive. It says Xi Jinping is likely to skip the G20 summit in India. And how does Reuters know this? Through its interactions with two officials. One is a diplomat stationed in China, and the other is an official from a G20 nation. They both say Xi Jinping is not coming. And in his place, China could send Premier Li Qiang as a representative of Beijing. And why is Xi Jinping not coming? This the report does not mention. And given China's state of secrecy about everything under the sun, it might never even reveal the real reason. In any case, Xi Jinping will not be the only one skipping the summit. Last week, remember, Russian President Vladimir Putin decided to skip the summit as well. And he will be sending his foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, instead. And why is the Russian president not coming? Well, the Kremlin says because his main emphasis right now is the special military operation, as they call it. In other words, he is busy fighting the Ukraine war. Now, I cannot help but wonder if this was all pre-planned, if it was always Xi Jinping and Putin's intention to skip the summit. And if yes, is it because of China? Is Putin not attending the summit at China's behest? How much leverage does China really hold over the Kremlin when it comes to diplomatic matters? And as we ponder over these big questions, it also helps to look at some of China's actions ever since the G20 summit was announced. You see the map showing Indian regions as Chinese, and Xi Jinping's refusal to attend the G20 summit are not the first instances of China trying to disrupt the G20 summit. In the lead up to the summit, a series of ministerial meetings in India have also been marked by serious disagreement. In one instance, Russia and China jointly resisted endorsing collective statements on the war in Ukraine. In March this year, it skipped a two-day G20 program in Arunachal Pradesh's Itanagar. There were 100 delegates from G20 countries, but no Chinese delegation. And then in May, China boycotted a meeting of a tourism working group within the G20. Why is that? Because the meeting was held in Kashmir. And it does not even end there. China was also reportedly opposed to adopting Vasudev Kutumbakam as a key theme of the summit, a Sanskrit phrase which essentially translates to "the world is one family." A powerful and unifying message that beautifully summed up the very purpose of a bloc like the G20. Yet, China was against it. It opposed the inclusion of the phrase in almost every G20 meeting that was held under India's presidency. The excuse that Beijing gave was even more bizarre. It said that the phrase could not be used in official texts because it was in Sanskrit, which is not one of the 6 official languages recognized by the United Nations. And we thought it was India's prerogative to decide the theme as the host nation. And just this week, it released this imaginary map showing Indian territories as its own, and of course got called out for doing so. Badly, in fact. Last we checked, the Philippines, Nepal, Malaysia, they all had slammed the Chinese map. So what do all these developments really tell you? That China has some deep-seated insecurities over India's rising stature on the global stage. Especially the Indian Prime Minister, a leader who is being embraced globally, that too on both sides of the aisle. He can meet the Russian president with ease. He can even hug and greet the American president. And on the other hand, we have Xi Jinping, an unelected dictator who has an adversarial image around the world. He's tried buying good press to redeem his public perception, but to no avail really. And this can make any man insecure. And Xi Jinping is clearly no different. And there's certainly a fear within China's strategic community that India might take the home field advantage to take on China on sensitive issues. And there's also a fear that Xi Jinping could be ignored badly at the summit, given the kind of camaraderie that the Indian Prime Minister shares with world leaders. And what's worse, there will be cameras. And Xi Jinping clearly does not want to face them. All said and done, the impact of Xi Jinping's absence at the summit will be significant. If he does not participate, many issues will be left unresolved. Since China is a key member of the bloc, its lack of active participation, perhaps, could put China's international reputation at stake. And then again, who are we kidding? When has China ever cared about what the world thinks about it? WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.